Okay, and we're back with a podcast with a guest, which is the first time since November when we had Dan from Bynes on for episode number 10. Apart from that, we had Tony on, but that was part of the Sunny Beach series. The quality on this podcast, it isn't as good as it was recorded on Zoom, should I say, and because we're still in isolation, and this was recorded in May 2020, obviously. I was joined by my old friend George, who wanted to share his mental health journey, as it is Mental Health Awareness Week this week. And this podcast, it does contain some stories that viewers or listeners may find upsetting. However, it is proof that when you hit rock bottom, there is always help out there to get you back to where you need to be. Hope you enjoy this podcast. Okay, welcome back to the Byron's World podcast. This is episode 11 on the normal podcast, not the Sunny Beach podcast. I've not done one of these since I had Dan from Bynes in November, so it has been a long time. But I have been doing the Sunny Beach series, and I've actually got with me today a very good friend of mine who I did meet over in Sunny Beach. I've got George. How are you, mate?
Hey. You all right, mate? How you doing? You all right?
Not so bad. Not seen you in a while. We've had the odd FaceTime here and there, but
It's been about 3 years, isn't it? So
yeah. So
literally probably this month, probably about 3 years. So
yeah, it's going to be a bit of a spoiler alert for the Sunny Beach story series. This it's going to go way forward. So we're gonna start with the last time I actually seen you in person. Was in the summer of 2017. Me and you was going to be running the company. Well, we was going to be running an events company. Not the whole fucking thing. That would
us in charge.
We was going to be running an events company over in Bulgaria for a nightclub called DGV. George was going to do the sales, and I was going to do the events. But at the start of that season, it's safe to say your head wasn't in the game.
No.
It wasn't nice to see. If you want to elaborate on that, whilst we was there, before the inevitable happened when you did go home.
Yeah, I mean, can you still see me? Sorry,
That's gone off.
I don't know.
Now
why.
I can.
Oh, my mate.
He's back now.
Sorry, my mate was trying to call me there. Yeah. So where do I start? Right, basically, so we, like you said, we was going to go and work out there, weren't we? So I was going to be the sales, like you said. You was going to be the events manager, and it was something I built up to for a long time. Something I really wanted to do, because you know how much I loved Bulgaria, Sunny Beach, the biking. It chokes me up now, actually, and I haven't spoke about this never in public. Spoke to my mates about it, and I'll be open if people ask. But
sorry to cut you off. Just to put a little bit more context on this, George, when he said he built up for it, George had done 2 or 3 seasons previous to that.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, worked two seasons. Sorry, yeah. So I worked 2 seasons.
As like got to a point where
yeah, that's it. It's like selling tickets, working on bar crawls, basically just drunk all the time, but loving it. But it got to a point where I thought, right, where am I going with this now? Like, what do I want to do? And I thought, do I want to go back and not really earn a lot of money and just be drunk all the time again? Can I kind of do that? So I thought the only way I'll go back is if I go back as a manager, which I got offered a job by Mark Watts, one of your good mates, Watsy, who I actually thought, before I got to know Watsy, I used to think I was a bit wary of him. I thought, I'm not sure if I like this geezer. You know what he's like? It can be very, unless you know him well, he won't give a lot away. Yeah. So you're like a bit wary of him. But I've got to know him, and he's a proper decent guy when you get to know him. And I think it was around January 2017, I got offered a job to be Room 2 manager. So Room 2 was obviously below the Viking, wasn't it? But it was connected, like the same people owning it. And then we went off to that holiday in Buravets.
Up in the mountains.
So we went into basically went to a managers meeting. So all the managers of the Viking of Room 2 were going to Buravets, weren't they? It was a ski resort, but it was basically just a piss up where we say what we think we should do for the summer. So we're all fired up, telling stories and that, and we was in such good spirits, and as if me and Byron was going to take on the world. That's how it was. But not before that, because I was going to work with Matt, wasn't I, in room 2. And then I got out there, and Watsy went to me, George, I need to speak to you. And I was thinking, oh shit, I'm like that, my art scout. I'm thinking, what have I done already? Because he was that kind of guy, wasn't he? And then he said, George, I want you to be the Party Square sales manager. And I was just like proper. Anyone who knew me out there knew how much I loved it and how much that job would have meant to me to get it. So it was the best thing in my life at that time. I couldn't have been happier. That was the best thing that could have happened to me. I loved that place so much, and to be offered that job, the responsibility of that was something special. So we had a great time out there, didn't we? And, like, we spoke for ages. We was just like, me and you just hit it off, didn't we?
Yeah.
The first time we met in 2015, but we was like, we're going to take on like the world, basically. That's how we felt. We had so many good ideas. We've done this, we've done that. But then after that, my mental health started deteriorating. So this is something I started getting panic attacks, which I'd had for probably a couple of months, but not really knowing what they were, and just thought, oh, it'd be all right. I can get through this, kind of thing. And as the summer started getting closer, I started getting more panic attacks because I didn't know how to deal with them. I didn't know what they were. I didn't have a clue. But at the same time, as a bloke, a few years ago, you couldn't really talk. We didn't feel like you could talk, and I didn't really know what to say to people. I didn't know whether I was drinking too much, like binge drinking. I didn't know what it was at all, and it was messing with my head, and I was getting really in states, really bad anxiety, panic attacks. I was having to walk out the house, and I couldn't calm down. And my dad didn't actually want me to go because I was living with him at the time, and he knew how bad I kind of was. And he kind of put it down to drink, which it wasn't, but we'll go on to that. But I don't think my mum actually knew. So everyone who didn't kind of know, apart from my dad, like probably you guys, Watsy, said, I spoke to Watsy about 3 weeks before we went, and I said, I don't think I can do it, mate. I'm really not in a good place. Anyway, he said, come down to Plymouth, didn't we? We went down to Plymouth to see him at his house, didn't we?
Yeah.
And he had a good chat with me, talked me into going. And I felt more positive. He said, look, he was really good with me. He spoke to me, told me a few things. And I was like, yeah, go on. I will have a go. And then the few weeks before, I was just still getting these panic attacks. But I thought, right, let's just go. Because if I don't, I'll regret it. But I got there, and I think the first night we went out, the next day I woke up, and the panic attack was probably in the worst feeling I've ever had in my life. So it was that bad. I could not control myself, curling up in a ball and just crying my eyes out. I just couldn't cope at the thought of, I love something so much, but the thought of knowing I wouldn't be able to do this job if I carry on like this. And anyway, I decided to have a few days off the booze, see if that helps. But I was still a bit anxious doing my job, wasn't I, with you? I was very open with you at the time.
Yeah,
it was really good. You spoke to me a lot, didn't you? But I was still getting these panic attacks. And I think probably about 2 weeks later, I was only there about 2.5 weeks. 2 weeks later, I had 3 days of non-stop panic attacks. I mean, every 10 minutes, I was getting a panic attack. It was that bad. I felt like I'd lost my mind completely, to the point where I thought I was going to have to go in a mental home. I really thought it was that bad because I could not cope. And I just remember screaming and just crying. And I remember going, Byron, I can't come in today. I couldn't even go in and face anyone.
I remember.
Yeah, go on. Sorry.
I remember that, and the worst part about it was seeing you in such a state, knowing that there was nothing I could do to, apart from be there for you. There was nothing else that I could do which would make you feel better. Because, like you said, you tried. You thought it was due to drink, so you knocked the drink on the head, but then you kept getting them, and then you came to me and Watsy and said, like, look, they're getting too much. Behind the curtain, me and Watsy did speak about it, and he said, well, what do we do? We don't want to lose George, but it's in his best interests that he goes home.
Yeah.
Because we wasn't, although we wanted you and needed you there, we couldn't keep you there for your sake. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
we had to put you first.
It was very, very tough. I couldn't, like I said, I couldn't even get in. I was laying in the bed, just trying to watch anything or do anything to take my mind off it. The only thing that was taking my mind off it was watching a bit of Only Fools and Horses on DVD player. And then I'd think about the anxiety again and think about how worried I was, and I'd go back to where I was. And I was laying there like this, and it was really that bad. And that's not me over exaggerating. And you saw it. I couldn't get out of the bed because I was so scared of living. I couldn't eat. I was getting skinnier. It got to the point I rang my dad up, and I remember sobbing. And he went, "George, what's the matter?" I went, "Dad, I can't do it." And he went, "You having these panic attacks again?" And I went, "I can't do it, mate." And sorry, mate.
Sorry, mate.
See, look, even now, because I haven't gone this deeply back, you forget how bad it was.
Yeah.
But I said to him, "I can't do this, Dad. I really can't. I can't do it. I'm so bad mentally." And he just said, "George, we just got to get you home. Just get you home." And I spoke to my mum, but I don't think she really understood at the time because I wasn't living with her, so she didn't see it. And she went, "Oh, God's sake, George, what are you going to do now? Like, what?" Anyway, I got a flight. I was devastated because you know me, how much I loved the place, how much it meant to me. That was my everything. At that time, I didn't have a driving license. I wasn't have any qualities to offer back home. I didn't have a good job I could go back to. I didn't have anything really, apart from obviously my brilliant family and my close mates. I didn't really have anything, any guide, like any way to look forward to it, anything in life, if you know what I mean, any kind of guide of where to go. Everything I put into was Sunny Beach. You said something earlier and it hit the nail on the head. Sorry. You said you go away for them 4 or 5 months or whatever it is, and then you go away and you've got 8 months of just wishing you was back in Bulgaria. And until you've worked there, you cannot understand that. You know everyone out there. It's just the best thing in the world. It was the best thing in the world at that time. And so that was a hard decision to make, but I was so messed up. And I remember the last day I wrote out a thing on we both love Ricky Hatton.
So I've still got it. I was going to try and dig it out, but I've put it away. It's in storage away, so it's safe. I was going to drag it out before, and then I was like, "Oh, got to get in here to record it," so I didn't have time. But the Ricky Hatton poster. So when George did leave, you bought some things from home to remind you of home. Pretty much, you bought the little Trotters Independent Traders freewheeler, didn't you? The Ricky Hatton poster, which we had up above the telly because we lived together in the same apartment as well. And there was the Arsenal mug. You left me the Arsenal mug as well.
Did I? Poor son.
Yeah. Okay. But like you said, it was hard because we did have plans to take over Bulgaria pretty much, and when you did leave, it was. I mean, I'm gonna speak more about this on the Sunny Beach series. Fucking hell, when I eventually get that far down the line, could be about 3 years away. Yeah, but yeah, it was hard. It was hard seeing you go, and I knew I wouldn't get a replacement because we were speaking a lot, we were Skyping a lot during the winter. But like I said, my main interest was you making sure that you were better, and that's why I kept in touch with you when you did get home. So when you did eventually get home, where did you go from there seeking help?
I got home and I was it was a relief to get home in the end because I was so scared that I was getting. People say, "What are you having panic attacks about?" Maybe. Well, I was just getting panic attacks about anything, about my health, about my mental health, whether I was going around the twist. I could worry about literally anything. It was that bad. The thing is, when you get in that bad headspace, you could worry about anything, literally anything, and it will make no sense at all. And it got to I got home and I was thinking, right, at least I've got the NHS. That's what I was thinking when I got home. I thought, because that I know that I can get help. If I was in Bulgaria, where would I go?
You couldn't go anywhere there. Not in Bulgaria, mate.
They'd give me a tequila. You know what I mean? That was
Rakia.
That's it, Rakia. And I was like a bit of relief. And then I was home and my dad was like, come on, right, we're going to sort this now. You're going to go on a detox. Like, you won't drink. He was convinced it was just the booze. And I knew it wasn't. I knew it had like parts to do with it. It was making it worse, but I knew it wasn't the drink. But anyway, I went along with it and I went on a bit of a detox. And I found this counsellor. And I think his name was Russ. And I only done 2-3 sessions with him, but he was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant, this guy. And I told him about why everything at Bulgaria, what happened. And I said, obviously, when I come back in them 6 weeks, I was so depressed because I wasn't just anxious now or having panic attacks. I was depressed because I lost my whole world. My whole world was in Sunny, which was in Bulgaria, was being the manager of you and taking over, basically. That's what we was like. We was like, we can go on, we can do this. We was so... And I knew how good we would have been together. But I was so down about that, and he understood it all, and he really helped me kind of get my head around stuff. And he told me all about panic attacks and what they were, and he said, it's not the booze. He said, the booze doesn't help once you're in that kind of state. But he taught me kind of why I was getting them. And I thought, right, well, that's it, I'm fixed. Yeah, it was about the end of July now. It'd been about 6 weeks, and I left probably Bulgaria early June, end of May. And I thought, I've got to go back. That was my first thing in my head. I've got to go back. I've just got, even if I go back and work behind a bar, do anything, I've got to go back and see all these people who I employed loads of people. I was with you. I felt I let you down. I felt like I let Watsy down. I just thought, I've got to get back there because I want to get back to my place. And I felt all right. But my dad was like, no, this is not a good idea, George. Just take time. And I was like, I really need to get out there. He was going, George, I was just worried about you. I don't want you to go. And anyway, I was just so depressed because I just needed to be there. And I was looking around, I was thinking, I've got to go. I was working back on a building site, and I fucking hated working on the building sites. It made me so fucking miserable.
I'm still on them.
I've been doing the days lately, trying to get a bit of money in with this COVID. But I was so miserable. I thought I've gone from being the best place in the world to being on a building site, knocking up cement. I thought, what the fuck has happened here? Right. And I was so down. I wasn't even having panic attacks at this point because I was just so down. And I was just like, but I wanted to get back out there, but I couldn't. But I didn't have a driving license. I couldn't get a better job. I didn't have any kind of future. And all my mates back home didn't really know what was going on. And they was kind of laughing, going, I knew you wouldn't come. I knew you'd come back. I knew you wouldn't last this season. And like, they didn't mean it, but they was just obviously didn't know what was going on. A couple of them did, and I remember breaking down to my mate Jack, my brother, my dad, my mum, my brother, and me Jack, one of my best mates. They really understood. But it was only them kind of tight knit people I told at the start. A couple of my other really close mates I didn't let on to a later state. But it got to a point, and it was August. I think it was the start of August 2017, and I've just been building up this depression. A couple of months, obviously 6 months, whatever before that, with panic attacks and not dealing with them, and lost in my own head, mate. And I remember one day just going, I cannot do this anymore. I just cannot do this anymore. I just don't want to be here. I want to die. I just wanted to die. It got that bad that I just thought I've lost my whole world of what I thought was at the time, because I couldn't control the panic attacks, and I felt weak because of it. I felt like an idiot. I felt silly. I felt depressed. I was in such a bad place. I just didn't want to live anymore. And I remember that was when the panic attacks kicked back in again. I thought, shit, I don't want to live anymore. So I started having a panic attack about not wanting to live anymore.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't control. And I remember sitting in my dad's flat on my own. My dad was out and his girlfriends, and I just felt really, just didn't know what to do with myself. And I remember just sobbing and sobbing and sobbing, and to the point I didn't know where to go. So I just walked, and I walked a bit more, and I come across like my mate's house, and his mum used to previously go out with my dad. And I remember knocking on the door, and I just remember just being there like that. And I remember a guy called Charlie Bell answered the door, and he was my mate's sister's boyfriend at the time, and he said, what's the matter, George? So you all right? How you doing? Because you know me, I was always been happy-go-lucky. You all right, mate? How you doing? Like that was just my personality, and I'd never suffered from any of this before. So it was new to me. I didn't know what it was. It all started in like 2017. So And I remember standing at that door and I just broke down into tears to the point uncontrollable. I was sobbing and he went, mate, what's the matter? And he come up, cuddled me and he pulled me in the house. And I remember Linda, her name was, she come down and she goes, what's the matter, George? And I couldn't speak. And only crying that much, you can't speak.
Yeah.
And I got sat on the sofa and Linda was there, which is Tom's mum, which is one of my mates, and Annie's sister, and then Charlie. And that was the first time I opened up and I said, they said, what's the matter? And I couldn't get my words out. And I just said, I don't want to be here anymore. And don't want to be here anymore. I just want to die. And I just remember streaming. And you could tell they looked at me like, shit, where's, I mean, no one knew what was going on. And she went, don't say that, George. And I said, I just don't want to live here anymore.
A minute.
I said, just can't do it. Couldn't do it, mate. That moment in time, I was just so, didn't know what was going on. Just so fucked. And I remember her talking to me, and I think I was there a couple of hours, and they made me feel better. And she rang my dad. I think my dad spoke to my mum, and my dad said, "Why didn't you ring me? Why didn't you ring me? You could have spoke to me. Like I would always be there for you." Sorry, mate.
Did you maybe feel too proud to call you dad about it? Or?
Like my dad's always very open. I can always speak to my dad, same as my mum, and it's not a thing of they'd always help me. Brilliant parents, but I just felt
like a burden.
And I felt like a burden. I didn't want to worry them. I knew if I was worrying them, they'd be scared, and I didn't want to tell them. So I didn't want to be open with anyone. And I remember getting back and I was just sobbing on the sofa, and he said, "George, we need to sort you out, mate. You need to go to the doctors, and I'm not having any other way you're going. And you're going on the tablets, because before I was kind of like, I don't want to do this." And he said, "George, you need help. We're gonna sort you out. We're gonna do it." But I didn't believe it. I didn't believe I could be sorted out.
Yeah.
And I remember he spoke to my mum, and she didn't know what was going. Really, I think she kind of found out. I remember the next day she picked me up. I booked a doctor's appointment. She picked me up, and it was a very quiet journey. And before we was a bit early for the doctor, she went, "Let's go in Costa." And I would never forget this moment. I sat in Costa, and it's like you're not even there. You're not even in there. That's what you feel like in your head. You're looking for your mum. You're looking for anyone else.
Yeah.
And you're looking around and you're thinking that everyone else is all right, and I'm here just messed up. And I remember sitting there, and I was just thinking, I just want to die. I just want to kill myself. I don't want to be here anymore. And my mum, I couldn't say that to my mum. And I remember getting into the doctors, and I walked through on my own. She said, "Do you want me to come?" I said, "No, I'll come on my own." And the doctor said, "What's the matter?" And I just broke down. I said, I just don't want to be here anymore. I just want to die. And I don't think she really understood it. Put it this way, the doctors, I went to the doctors a couple of times, and I didn't think they was any good, mate. They just give you tablets, push you out the door, go, right, here's a number for therapy. But you can't get through to the therapy for about 3-4 months.
That's
so
what
you're just taking these tablets, and you don't, they help you come up and level out, but you're not sorting out the issues or the problems. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's all right, just take the tablets, but you're not dealing with the issue. You're just taking tablets, and you get cast aside as someone who's just the depressed person or this or that. And really, you just had a lot of incidents that have come along, and you haven't known how to deal with them, and you've just fallen into a trap of depression and anxiety and stuff like this. And anyway, so I was taking these tablets. I was just going through the motions with them, and just didn't really know what to do or how I felt. But I was taking them for, I think, a couple of weeks, and some days I felt a bit better, and I wasn't getting panic attacks, and I thought, I'm feeling all right now, and this. And then as soon as you get a good day, you think, I don't need these now. I don't need that. And these panic attacks are gone. And then the next day you come crashing down, and you're so fearful in the end of waking up. You don't even want to wake up, because, as soon as you wake up, your brain goes, shit, I'm here again. It got that scary that I didn't want to be awake.
Yeah.
And I had to force myself out of bed to try and do anything just to not be in my own head. It was that bad. I wouldn't wish it on anyone ever.
No.
I really mean that. I could not wish out on anyone. It was that bad. I did not see a way out at all. I just couldn't see how I was going to get out of this. I remember saying to the doctors, this is it, isn't it? My life's done. She went, what do you mean? I said, no one comes back from this bad. She said, try and be positive. I went, I can't. No one comes back from this. So I honestly thought that. And I remember, it's about a week later, a big stepping point was my mate knew a couple of my mates knew I was down. A few of them didn't know how bad I was. I remember James Pritchard, who you know, taking me to the Harvester for a couple of beers. He said, look, have a couple of beers. And he said, you can get through this. He said, he was the one who advised me to go to a therapist. He said, George, if you was getting your house plastered, would you do it yourself or would you get professionals to come in and do it? And I went, well, I'll get professionals to come in and do it. He went, so why are you ashamed to go and get a therapist to help you with your head when they know what they're talking about? And, sorry, just wiping away. And I thought, yeah, that clicked. But I didn't really accept that advice for a couple more months. So I remember sitting in, my mate said to me, look, you need to get out of the house. Come on, let's do some exercise. My dad was saying, come on, get out, do some exercise, release some endorphins. You can do this. And I remember getting in my mate's car, his Mini, his name Jem Pop, one of my best mates. He's a lovely lad. And he started saying, what's the matter then, George? And none of them really knew apart from my mate Jack, the family and that. And I said, I just don't want to be here anymore, Jen. I just want to kill myself. I'm getting thoughts about it every day, but I just don't think I can do it, but I don't know whether I can or not. And at the time, I think he was shocked. And he was like, no, you'll be fine, mate. You. And I remember going to this football, and anyone knows me knows I love football, and I was playing, but I weren't there. I was not there. I was looking through the ball, and I couldn't even focus on being on that football pitch. Anyone who knows me now would go, no way. Like, when you're on that pitch, you are the most passionate, determined geezer. And I just standing there like, no, I'm done. This is me done.
It's like you was watching yourself through somebody else's eyes.
Yeah, I was just there, but I wasn't. I was thinking about how I'm going to die. Or, do you know what I mean? It was that bad. And I think if my mum watches this now, my dad, whoever's close, it will really upset him. Because I don't think I've ever got this deep with them.
It's upsetting me because I'm one of your friends listening to it, and I knew, I kind of knew the crux of how you was feeling from when you was still in Bulgaria before you did come home, and I'll never forget one of the times I came in, tried to be like, oh, cheerier, because I knew that you was upset in the morning. I'd come in from work, and I looked at you. I said, "You all right, mate?" And you went, "Yeah, I'm fine." And then you just burst out into tears. It'll never leave me this. I just remember you wailed at me and said, why am I not normal? And I was like, George, you are normal. What's wrong with me? Why am I not normal? And you kept repeating yourself. I was like, George, you are fucking normal, mate. You're just not well. I said, you're not well.
I can't even remember that.
And I said, you're not well. You need to go. And it wasn't nice seeing listening to one of my friends tell me that they're not normal, and I was like, "Hey, you are normal. You're just unwell." But like I said at the start of this podcast, I knew that you needed to go home. But when you said you went to the doctors, a lot of people do have mixed opinions on this. Me being, I have my own personal opinion about it. When they put you on the tablets, what do you make of the antidepressant tablets? Because I think a lot of people who do take them, I've never touched them myself. That's not to say that I've not been through some hardship myself, because I have. A couple of people advised me, when I was going through a bad time a couple of years ago, and they did advise me, just take them and see how you get on. I never wanted to. But I think a lot of people can get on them, and then the actives kind of, they have like kind of a placebo effect on them. So then when they're not taking the tablets, they think, oh, that's it, now my head's going to fall off. But then when they are on them, what was your experience with that? Do you think that they did help? Or
with me, you get a lot, like you just said there, a lot of people tell you different things. Someone will tell you take, someone will tell you not, they don't work, this, that. For me, now this is something I've looked into, there's something therapists have told me before. I haven't taken them for probably 2 years now, so I think I was on it for about a year, maybe just under. And I think what they do is they're not going to make you happy. Forget that. Yeah, they're not going to stop panic attacks. Forget that. They're not going to stop anxiety. They're not going to stop you feeling low at times. What they do is they pick you up. Yeah, so little chemicals in your brain, serotonin, that's what makes you kind of happy, makes you, that none of that's being produced when you're down and depressed. So it's just restarting it. It's like kickstarting a motor. So it's just restarting it and just keeping it going. Yeah. So when you do get really low, you're not going to keep going and dropping. It just builds you up a little bit. Yeah. So that's, and I do honestly believe that they do work in that sense. Now, what I don't believe is what happened with me. Go to the doctors, tell them how bad you are, depressed, and then they just throw you tablets and go, here you go.
Off your
Here's a
pop.
number for a therapist.
Yeah.
That day, it was that bad, I could have just killed myself. And what help did I have?
But the
I
blood
got
of
given tablets.
Yeah.
And there's no one, it's nothing, I will go into this in a bit more, but so it's understanding it. It's not to make you better, it's to keep you leveled out. And then once you've solved your problems through therapy, if you ever do, that is, or then you can gradually come off them, yeah, which is a gradual thing. And then the first month is probably hard because you in your mind you're thinking, oh shit, do I need them, do I not? But once you come off them, you realise I'm all right now. But I do think they do work. I do think they pick you up. Do you understand what I mean? They level you out.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you are just really flat. And like I said, it's nothing I'd experienced before. I'd had bad times in my life and I'd had rough times, but wasn't really depressed and anxious and like this. So they do work, but obviously that's my opinion. So that's, but like I said, that going back to when I was playing football, and that was when I knew, shit, this is bad. I remember my mate dropping me off home and he messaged me straight after and he went, George, what you've said to me has just sunk in about, I told him I want to kill myself and that. And he said, it's just sunk in. He said, and I've never felt this bad. He said, I can't believe one of my mates feels like this and I'm going to do anything I can to help you. Anything. And that still sticks with me now because little words like that will what pull you through in the end. And anyway, I had a few weeks of just trying to get through. I was running, going to the gym, doing whatever, but I was still depressed because I lost my Bulgaria. I'd lost this. I didn't have anything to look forward to. I was on building sites. And I remember one day my dad was so upset because I was living there. I think I went to my mum's, mate. I went to my mum's, that was it. And I said, Mum, I don't want to be here anymore. I want to die. And just a couple of weeks after, and she went hysterical. And I remember Mark, her husband, sitting there like he didn't know what to do. I don't think they knew whether I was being serious, whether I was just crying out for attention, but I was deadly serious. And I remember Mum going, you've got to pick George up. I don't know what to do. I've got to go and teach now. And I think she was scared. She didn't know what to do. And I remember my dad, and I was laying on a sofa sobbing, and I just felt sorry for myself for kind of a bit. And I needed that tough love. My dad had tried everything else. I remember he said to me, I was laying on things sobbing, and he went, you've got to fucking sort this out now. He went, because he went, I'll never forget it. And it's the biggest fire I've ever had. And he went, you've got to fucking sort this out now. He goes, because I fucking love you, son. He goes, I fucking love you more than anything in this world. He went, and I can't deal with seeing you like this anymore. He goes, you've got to find something from somewhere, son. He goes, you can do this. He was going, it's like fucking just driving me up. And he went, you've got to fucking do this. He went, because I can't go on seeing you like this. He went, you can do this, mate. He went, you need to get up off this sofa now. And he says, you need to fucking sort it out. Like that. And it sounds weird, but looking back, it was tough love that I needed at that time. And it was I remember crying, and he was crying, and he gave me a big cuddle. And after that moment, I thought, I can't do this anymore. I can't feel like this, because the only thing that was stopping me not killing myself was I didn't want to leave my family. I couldn't leave my mum, my dad, their partners, my brother, and my mates. So I couldn't do it to them. I just thought, I can't do this. But it was getting to the point where it could have happened quite easily because I couldn't control myself anymore. Like I said, I wake up and didn't want to be here anymore, and it was so bad. Every day was anxious. And that kind of thought, I've got to get up now. And I remember ringing up my mate Jen. I said, Jen, bring me to football next week. I'm coming. And that went to football, and I focused. I thought, I've just got to focus on this. Even if it's just for this hour of training, then I can go back to being miserable. If I can get through 1 hour not feeling like this, then I've done a better job than yesterday. And I've done it, and I've got there, and I loved it, right? not loved it, I'd say, but I didn't think about anything else. And it got to the point I was just praying that I could just sit there and have a cup of tea without being in the over faults. And gradually, it started
1
throwing
hour turned
myself
into
into
2
swell.
hours, and then 2 hours would turn
Yeah,
into 3
or
hours.
like 1 hour on its own, and then I'd have a shit 6 hours, and then I'd have a good 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And it sounded silly, but it was that bad, Byron, that 20 minutes was good. And then I just think, well, I was sleeping so much because I needed it. And eventually, over the period of about a year, I was still anxious towards the end of the year, but I could cope with it more. And I'd just get little moments. I remember he said to me, George, he said, what you'll probably find is that you'll get 15 minutes where you feel really anxious. Just hold on and just know that it's just 15 minutes. And then you'll come out of that and you can have a good few hours. And then you might get it again. And that was stuck in my head as well. And it's little things like this. And I remember after my dad's speech, I went, right, I'm going to therapy. But I couldn't afford the one I was going to. So I went to a cheaper one. And it was a woman called Leanne. And she was brilliant. And she was explaining everything, why I feel this way, telling me I'm not mental. I've just had a bad time of it. And she said, I understand why you were so depressed, because you went from loving everything about Bulgaria and having such great times to then coming back and having nothing and just dropping and being panic attacks. And it was brilliant. And I started to learn how to live a bit again. So I was getting moments where I was still getting panic attacks. Not panic attacks, I'd say. Kind of stopped getting them, but I was getting anxious, really anxious. And I was like, oh, and overthinking. But I knew in certain moments I wasn't getting that. And that's the moments I was living for. And the reason I was doing that was for me family. And I remember being on a building site one day and I said to myself, I will stay on this planet until the day I have a natural death, I said. In my head, I was saying, because I will never, ever put my family through this. I remember drilling that into my head, and I used to say that before I went to bed. And I was having a really bad day and I was thinking, no, I can get through this. But I was too busy trying to fight my own head, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So I was struggling. I was fighting. And I said to my therapist, I'm really fighting against my own faults. I'm trying to fight, but I can't. And she went, George, you are never, ever, ever going to be able to fight your own faults. They'll always be there. It's about learning to live with them and learning to accept them. And one of the things the therapist, the guy said, he said, look, George, he said, I could think the craziest things. I could go and tell you now I'm going to rob a bank. I could think that in my head. I could go and tell you I'm going to go and do this. But it doesn't mean that it's going to happen. It's just a fault.
Yeah.
And I really sunk in. I went, shit, yeah, like, just because I'm thinking I'm going to kill myself doesn't mean I'm gonna. And I started calming down a bit. And it's little things like this. Therapy, let me tell you now, if anyone out there who's struggling, go to a therapist. Just pay the money. You'd happily go down a pub and have a night out and spend a load of money, but you wouldn't go and pay for a therapist. Now, go and pay for a therapist because they just dig down into your brain. And it is something, I don't know whether you've done it, Byron, before or not, but it's brilliant therapy. And it's just, have you been before? Or?
I've not. I wish I had, though, a couple of years back, when I was going through a bit of a different situation to yours. But, well, say a couple of years back. It's happened a couple of times in my life. We'll go back to 2015, actually. Told you about this before. Told you personally. When I got back from Denmark.
Yeah.
I had a Danish girlfriend once, and I came home, and I remember getting home and going up the stairs. It was like 5 o'clock in the morning. And my parents, they go up for work really early in the mornings. And obviously the relationship out there didn't work, but I wanted it to work so bad at the time. Do you know what I mean? Obviously everything, I follow the mantra, like everything does happen for a reason. Like, you know, it does. Everything falls into place eventually. You know, something what doesn't make sense, like what didn't make sense then makes a lot more sense now.
Definitely.
But yeah, I remember with my parents, they was getting up for work at like 5, just as I was getting in. And I remember walking in the bathroom. My mum looked at me, and I just burst out, like, just fucking in floods of tears.
Yeah.
I was like, well, I was saying something like, why me? Why me? And then I remember my dad looking at me, and my dad's kind of old school, kind of not. I think my dad's in that category of blokes who'd struggle to speak about their emotions.
Yeah.
You know, that age group, because that's how it was back then. It's understandable,
Yeah,
isn't
definitely.
it? But
Different times.
yeah, exactly. And I remember he just looked at me, and the look that he gave me, I just knew there was. He looked at me, and he was genuinely speechless. Like, he knew there was nothing he could say, nothing he could do. But they was going to work. Like I said, it was 5 a.m, and so they'd got off for work. I'd got into my bedroom, and I remember just wailing and wailing until I literally cried myself to sleep.
Yeah.
And then the next couple of weeks after, well, say the next month, 2 months, maybe 3 months after that, there'd often be times where I'd just be sobbing to my mum, saying stuff like, I don't, I didn't want to be there anymore. I don't.
Yeah.
I've had it more severe since then. Because there was another similar situation a couple of years later, kind of not. I think with me, and when I get myself down, it's me against, kind of like what you were saying, it's me against my own head.
Yeah.
And I beat myself up, and like a lot of blokes won't really want to admit it. But there is often times when you just don't feel good enough, but that's not the case. It's just because you're having a bad time. But I mean, I'm not a therapist, but I do know the best way. Like I said earlier on, I never wanted to. My mum told me, if you really do feel that bad, not in like if you feel that bad, go to the doctors kind of way, but she said, if you genuinely do feel that bad, then get yourself to the doctors and get yourself some antidepressants. But I've always been of the ilk of that. I don't really believe in tablets. I'll take a paracetamol if I've got a headache, which is that bad. But I didn't want to do that. Not because I was too proud to go and speak to a doctor, because I'm quite an open person anyway. I'll speak to anybody about anything, if I've got a problem or whatever. But I didn't want to go down that route of the tablet. So I just spoke. I spoke to a lot of my good friends. My mate Johnny, when I was at my worst, my mate Johnny, if he's watching this, one of my best mates, he really fucking helped me. I mean, really helped me. If it weren't for him, then I might have been in a slump a fucking hell of a lot longer. Or I don't know. You don't know, do you? It's hindsight.
And this is the thing. I think what you're saying is, I've talked to anyone, literally anyone. When I started doing that, that's when I started improving myself. What you're saying there, open up to mates. I suppose with me, what you just said there, if you hadn't have talked after maybe 2-3 months, you would have slumped more. I didn't tell anyone about the panic attacks for 5 months, at least 6 months. Yeah,
and that's when you see yourself slumping more.
It become too much. Yeah, it become too much for me to cope with on own, and that's when I went down. So I think what you just said there, maybe if you had a few more months where you just kind of ignored it a bit, pushed it to one side, it gets worse, doesn't it? So
well, I was kind of in a situation where I'd had a breakup from a previous relationship, but I stayed in the place. It was stupid, but I did, really.
Yeah.
I stayed in the place. She moved out and I stayed in there. So I was staying in an apartment which wasn't in my hometown. It was on like a 20-minute drive away. But when you're in that state of mind, you don't want to, like you said earlier, I didn't want to worry my mum or my dad, because I know that my mum would panic about me, because she knew from a previous experience, when I was down from when I came back from Denmark, she never wanted to see me there ever again.
Yeah.
And I remember just sitting in this apartment, not this apartment, my old apartment, on my own. Obviously, I'd moved in there with one of my ex-partners, and it felt weird. I wasn't sad. It's really hard to explain. I wasn't sad about the relationship ending, because I knew that it wasn't going to work, and I knew that I was. I won't go too deep into that, just because just in case. I can speak to you personally about it, but I knew it wasn't the relationship ending which had made me like I was. It was the fact that I felt like it was a repeat of what had happened previously. It felt like Denmark all over again. So I was beating myself up. I was saying to myself, why have you let yourself do this? After all the advice I had off my family and everyone and my mates, why have I let that happen again? So I remember sitting in the other apartment, and one day I heard the buzzer go, because it was like on the third floor or so. I heard the buzzer go on the apartment. So I got to the phone, picked it up, and then it was my dad. And he was just like, let me in. And I was like, what are you here for? He said, just let me in. And him and my sister had known that I was in quite a bad fucking way, and that I'd been round to my mum and I've been crying and everything.
Yeah.
So he'd let me up. I'd let them up the stairs, and they came in and they had all these big fucking. Do you know the big IKEA bags you get, the big blue ones? They had loads of them. So then my dad looked at me and he was like, "You're coming home?" I said, "I'm fucking not." I was adamant I was staying there. He was like, "You're coming home?" I said, "I'm fucking not. I'm staying here." And then my sister I'll never forget, my sister went to the kitchen and she started getting, the utensils, pot, the kettle, the toaster. She was throwing it in these big IKEA bags. She was like, "You're not well, Byron." I said, "I'm fucking fine." And she was throwing it in and throwing it in. She went, "You're not well." And then I started getting like angry and sad at the same time. So I just started bursting out in tears. She were in tears as well. And he was throwing all this stuff in the bag. She was like, "You're not fucking well. You're going to your mum's." And then my dad just looked at me. I said, "I'm staying here." And my dad was like, "Look, she's not going to fucking come back here. That's it. You need to get out of here." I said, "Right." I said, "I'm not coming back home though." He said, "Right. Well, you're gonna get a place back in your hometown of sunny Leyland." So then I
beautiful Leyland.
Yeah, I put in for this place here, and then I moved here, and then I lived here on my own for a year. But it's like you was talking about before. You remember moments when you're in them places. You remember, like you said, with your dad when he picked you up off the couch and said, come on, this is fucking it now. I'm not prepared to see my son like that anymore." Quite a similar situation to what my dad was saying to me.
Kind of need someone just to pull you up.
Yeah, I could kind of see like my dad. He'll keep his thoughts to himself. Like, but I can see him when he's bubbling over, and then that were it. I knew that we were going to say something, and then he was like, "Right, that's it. You're out of it. You're getting out. You need to get out of here." And that was it. So between my dad, my sister, and my mate Johnny, and a few of my other friends as well, but yeah, and I know what you mean with it's not, a lot of people don't understand this, and I tried saying this in the last episode of my Sunny Beach podcast. When you've worked abroad, and then you come back home, it's fucking hard to adjust to, because when you're out there, you know everyone. You know absolutely everyone. It used to take me, how long was the strip in Bulgaria, Flower Street? How long was that? But what, half a kilometre? Not even that. Well, something like that. About 500 metres, weren't it? From top to bottom.
Yeah, must be something like that. Yeah.
Sometimes it'd take me half an hour from walk to the top to the bottom, because I was just chatting to everyone. But then when you come home and say, like, you walk to Tesco for a loaf of bread, you might bump into like maybe two people who you went to school with who you've not seen in a while. Do you know what I mean? You
can't explain it.
I think that might have contributed to you being a bit worse when you did get home, because I'd often, because I did 7 seasons out there, when I got back, I was often in a slump for the first month or so, or I'd do like the first 2 weeks where I was seeing all my mates and I was buzzing to see them. But then once that's gone, and then I'd be looking for a job or whatever, after I'd seen all my friends, and then you just sat at home and you just think to yourself, fucking hell, I feel a bit worthless now.
Well, you go from, you like, people work abroad, and they go to wherever they go, Magaluf, Ibiza, I don't know, Zante, and they work in these places, and you see them, and there's a few of them working in each bars, and they look like they have brilliant times, and they obviously do. But when you go to Bulgaria and you work for a place like the Viking, where there's 120 people, other workers working with you on the same team, you build a good connection with a lot of them. You live with them, you party with them, you drink with them, you eat with them. You are with them 24 hours a day. And like you said, you walk down that strip and you know everyone, and you speak to everyone, and you, like us, we talk to people. We like talking to people. And when you're out there, you're kind of something, can't you? You're something you feel like something because
Yeah.
everyone knows you and you're like, you're having a great time. And then to come away from that, like you said, even once you come away at the end of a season, it probably takes a month or two, and then you kind of get back to normal life in Britain, and then you want to go away again. But because I knew that I couldn't go back, and I'd lost the job as a manager, and I knew another guy. Well, obviously Nico took the job, didn't he? Then was it someone else or something like that? But I knew there wasn't a place for me, and I knew I was just so depressed, just thinking that I've worked for this, and I really meant everything to me. I mean, I've got the tattoo on my leg, everything jumping of the Vikings. So you know how much it means to me. The same as it meant to you. I think that's why we got on so well. We was like almost passionate about the Vikings in another way, weren't we? So to lose that was very hard. And I say it probably took me a year to get over the fact that, right, I'm never going back. It took me to the next summer when I didn't go to go, right, well, I'm not going back. And that's when, obviously, I'd been through therapy for about 6 months at that point, and I was getting better. Like I said, I was still getting my moments, but I was, all in all, I was coping well, and I still couldn't work out why I was still getting these moments. But I was, through little things and worrying about things. But in the end, I remember going to myself, right, I'm going to get these thoughts whatever. So whether I try and fight against them or not, I'm just going to get them. And it's something I'm just going to have to accept. And once you start learning to accept your own faults, whatever they may be, and listening sometimes just going, you're talking a load of rubbish in your own head, you start feeling better in yourself. And it's a weird old thing. And it's not something it's easily done. It's very hard. It takes time, but you get more and more better. That's what I mean. And now I'm in a completely different headspace. I mean, I wouldn't even dream of dying. Like I couldn't think of anything worse. I love my work. I've got a beautiful son. Do you know what I mean? I've got Mrs. Molly. Do you know what I mean? I've got great family, great friends, and I wouldn't dream of anything like that. But I was in such a bad headspace back then. That's how I felt. But it's taken me a long time. And when people go, "How did you kind of recover?" Like close mates, I go, "I've never recovered." Because I think that's a bad word. People go, "I've recovered, I'm fine now." And then as soon as they get a bad day or a bad week, maybe I've had 3 good months and they get a bad week, they think they're back there again because I've had it. And in the end, I remember listening to someone on the radio and they said, you don't recover, you just learn how to live with yourself and learn how to cope with yourself, how to learn to live in your own faults. And I started thinking, I'm going to stop using the word recover. So every day I have a bad day or a bad week, I'm not going to get down and think, oh, I'm here again. I'm back in this place. And gradually it started getting better and better. And I'd say probably the last year or so, I get the odd day where I get a bit of anxiety, but I know how to deal with it now. And I know how to cope with it. And it's very little and often. Do you know what I mean? I could go a couple of months and be all right, and I get a bad day. And I just think, well, it's just a bad day, George. Do you know what I mean? Do you understand what I mean? And it's, so I've got hay fever, so I'm a bit bunged up. But I'm like, fucking hell, the old bugle's going. But so you kind of just learn how to deal with things. And like 3 months ago, I think it was, I was, obviously now you know I'm a personal trainer, fitness instructor. I've started my own business and worked very hard. So I was doing another job on the side working for a school, and it was getting too much, and I was getting all stressed out again, almost getting to the point where I was going to have a panic attack. And I thought, I can't do this. I need to manage myself. So I spoke to my boss, was very open with my boss, and they said have a bit of time off. And I had a couple of weeks off, and I went, look, I can't do this anymore. I was so stressed out doing too much. And I had a really bad, probably 3 weeks, for the first time in about 2 years. I felt really bad. But I wasn't like suicidal or anything. I was just really stressed and anxious, and I thought, shit, I could be going back to that place. But as soon as I left that, I was back to here again. And it's like, you end up seeing it as a learning curve. I mean, if I look back now, if I didn't have them times in Bulgaria or the times of how bad I was, I wouldn't be the person I am now, and I wouldn't be able to deal with things like I can now. Like, I've had a lot go on, as you probably know, in the last year with Molly's side of the family. And I think I've dealt with things pretty well. Like, obviously, you get your days, and I know now that if I have a day, that's all right. I'm allowed to have a day where I'm down. I'm allowed to have a day where I could go and talk to someone. But that's acceptable. When you don't know that, and you don't know that that's okay, then it's very hard to deal with. But that's something I've learned to deal with. And it's something, at the end of 2017, I thought to myself, right, like I said, when I was doing a lot of sport, a lot of football, and I threw myself into football, and I was like playing twice a week. I was loving it, really getting fired up. And then for them moments, I wasn't thinking about anything else. games and training. Yeah, I wasn't thinking of anything else. And I thought, right, I'm on site. What can I do? So I was on site every day. And I thought, I love this sport. I love talking to people. Yeah. So I thought, right, what can I do? I thought, right, go into something to do with sport. So Geezer, my old PE teacher, put something up about going on a course. I went on this course. So I was doing that on the weekends. I started doing driving lessons in the evenings. I finally passed this test after about 3 months. So I passed this course and I got offered a job at Dean's. And I finally started seeing like a bit of a future. Do you know what I mean? A bit of somewhere, a bit of direction is the word. And that slowly from there, I started building. So when I started doing personal training, fitness courses, and from there on, it's gone up. Do you know what I mean? And obviously, you get your days and you get your times where you come down. But I know now that that's just life, and you're going to get moments. But all in all, like I know how to deal with things now. And it's not to say that I won't have bad days in the future, because I will. But I wouldn't. I was worrying at one point, am I just someone who's depressed all the time? No, I'm not. I'm someone who sometimes overthinks things and gets a bit anxious, and that leads me to get depressed. But anyone out there watching who may be able to connect with this, you've just got to realise you're not mental. You're not insane. You're not this. You're not that. You're just having bad times, and you probably need a bit of help, and you not know how to deal with it. And that's probably what you were saying earlier. And once you start accepting that and go, actually, I'm not mental. I'm just having a bad day here. And you can put it down to that. Some days you don't even need to put it down to something. Some days you wake up and think, I've got a fucking hump here, don't you? You ever wake up a day like that, you go, I don't want to do that. But before, I was thinking, fucking hell, why do I feel like this? Do you know what I mean? And I was like, but now I go, well, it's fucking bollocks, and I'll write this day off. Yeah. And then the next day I wake up and I'm like, why I love my job. I meet so many great people, and I go and talk to them, and I have a good chat with them like we are now. I go, right, mate, how you doing? Train them. They feel good in themselves, and that makes me feel good. And life's a funny old thing, isn't it? And you think you might have solved one thing, and then something else comes along. So I'm not by no means saying I'm cured, I'm this and that. Something might happen to me in the future. But what I know is I know how to deal with myself now, and I know what suits me, what don't, and I know that if I have a bad day, which is a lot more rare now, that hold on, it's a bad day, I can cope, Byron, and I think accepting that is a big thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I think if anybody was to say that they don't have bad days, I think it'd be false. Everybody does have bad days, and I do believe that every man and it doesn't matter, man, woman, pansexual, transsexual, whatever you identify as, everybody's going to have a bad day.
Yeah. Oh,
you know what I mean? Yeah. And everybody's going to suffer with some kind of mental health issue along the way through life. If you don't, then there's something wrong, in my opinion. If you don't,
you're talking bullshit.
Exactly. I mean, I've spoke a couple of times about this on a couple of previous podcasts, which feel like a million moons ago now. I think I was speaking with my friend Dan, who's in a band called Binds. If you've not checked them out, go and check them out. But we're talking about social media and the effect that can have on people's mental health. And I think there's too many people, especially the younger generation now. No, I make myself feel old. Fucking hell, I'm only 28. but even people next year. Even people my age though, I think so many people are comparing themselves. Oh, look at him, look what he's got.
Yeah, big time.
But listen, newsflash to anybody who didn't know, when they're putting all these things on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, these are the things they want you to see. They won't show you the things like, I've fucking slipped on a bit of dog shit on the way to work today. They won't show you that. Do you know what I mean? They won't show you
the best things, isn't it?
Yeah, they won't show you them having a breakdown and fucking crying in the bathroom. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They won't show you these things. They won't show you if a bird shit on them.
No.
Do you see where I'm coming from? They only want you to see the good things. But I mean, I'm no fucking psychologist, but you can see the kind of people when you're scrolling through Facebook and stuff, and it's or on Twitter, or Instagram, whatever, and it is a shame because so many people have so many insecurities, and they feel like the way they need to validate is by being flashy on social media or whatever. But I do think it is quite detrimental to people's mental health, social media, for that reason. The comparing. In the past, I've probably done it as well. if somebody, for example, fucking hell, about 4 years ago, if somebody tagged me in a picture on Facebook, I was the one who decided whether it went on my Facebook or not.
delete it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I look fat on that, or I look this on that, and now I couldn't give a toss. But I mean, it's been like that for a couple of years. But I know you said once you came back and you went through the therapy and you did all the song and dance, and eventually you learned to manage how to cope with your thoughts and your feelings, and then you met a lovely lady.
Yep.
And you had a little boy.
Yeah, little Reggie. So I met Molly. So this happened quite quick. So it was summer 2018. It was the World Cup. Yeah, you know when
Trippier scored the free kick. No. Yeah. Trippier scored the free kick, and that was it.
Yeah, and it finished.
Yeah, that was it. We won the World Cup. That was the best 6 minute. Well, the best. What was it? 68 minutes or something until they equalised. But that first 6 minutes, that was the peak of me watching football.
That was one of the best moments of my life.
Yeah,
you know when he scored that free kick, I was down a pub, the UN Helmet, right, and everyone was going mental, and everyone was jumping, pints flying, and it was like all us football fans, all we've ever wanted is see England win something, and we finally thought, right, they're
going to get to the final. I know.
And
the Bury Beckham.
Like, the great memories of that, to be fair. So it's, but yeah, so I met her around that time, and obviously I hadn't been with her long. We'd only been together probably 3 months, and then we found out she was pregnant. And at the time, I was like, I don't know whether I can do this. I'm just getting over my own issues. Probably, like I say, I started coming out of that by then, but still having them and building up the business and thinking to myself, am I ready for this? Am I this, that? And she just, I remember I said, George, I just know I can't get rid of him. And I just went, okay, now. I went, I will support you. And I didn't know what I wanted at the time. I was just a bit like, whoa, like shit. I was still in that kind of overthinking kind of thing. Yeah. And I just went, okay, then I'll support you. And I remember her being really worried when she had to tell me. And she was crying. I went, you'll laugh. She was crying her eyes out. And I was going, what's the matter? Like that. And she was going like, I can't say nothing. And I was going, right, what's the matter? Like that. And I was started getting wound up. She was crying, I'm going, I can't say. And I went, what? What's
the fucking matter?
I went, who you cheated with? Like, because the way she was crying, she was going, it was like she was trying to whine something. Like and I was thinking, I went, who the fuck are you cheating with? I'm going to bash him up like that. And she went, I haven't cheated. And I went, what? Well, tell me. It clicked in my head, and I went, you're pregnant, aren't you? And she went, yeah. And I was just like, I was more relieved that I hadn't been cheated on. And she was like, well, you're not upset with me? And I was like, no, of course I'm not upset with you. And it was like, that moment, that was when I first found out. But then obviously we didn't know what to do. And then now we just wouldn't change him for the world. I mean, if you've probably seen pictures of him, videos of him. He's just such a lovely little lad. And he's just like so content. And he's just like happy little baby. And it gets, obviously all babies get time when they cry, but in general he's just such a good lad. And it's something now, he's becoming like my little mate because he's getting a bit older, he's recognising things more. And it's brilliant, mate. It is brilliant. It's tough. It is tough, don't get me wrong. Like you'll find out soon, 6 weeks, because you go from being independent, you could just go down a barber's, you could just go down a shop, to having a baby, and then you've got to go, right, who's going to look after him or her? And it's hard to deal with that. But you just get used to it, and it's the sleepless nights at the start there are. But once they start getting probably for a bloke, a woman's quite very close to them at the start, but probably for a bloke, probably 5-6 months, they start sitting up, they start smiling a bit. And then as a bloke, you start feeling like you've got a bit more something to do with them. Do you know what I mean? And it's getting more and more like that now. Now he walks like a bit, and then he crawls, and then you just can't leave him anywhere. So it gets easier for a bloke. So, but obviously I'll speak to you about that on another level. But no, he's brilliant, mate. So for him, it's just, and I kind of think now, you said everything happens for a reason. I think at the time, I had fantastic times in Bulgaria. I wouldn't change it for the world. I loved every minute of my first 2 seasons, and I really did. And obviously I didn't like the way it ended on my 3rd season, but looking back now, I think I probably needed that. It calmed me down having Reggie. I probably needed that. And it gave me more of a focus. So it gave me more of a drive to push on and do stuff in my work. since having him, I've really pushed on with my work, and I think you'll find the same. You'll just want to do what you can to give them a good future. And
Yeah,
obviously,
it's like, I'm not gonna lie. Well, whilst we're on the the topic of this episode, if you haven't already noticed, is mental health pretty much.
yeah.
But
Mental Health Week, by the way, that's what we're doing.
yeah, exactly. But over the past, I don't know, 2 years probably, I've not thought like, what's the point? I don't want to be here. But I'd have a lot of mornings waking up thinking, what's the point? Like, what?
Yeah.
Not what's. Wait,
I know what you're saying.
Not
You're
what's the
thinking,
point? I don't want to fucking be on planet Earth anymore. More like, what's the point? Where am I going? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
what am I doing? And
direction.
Yeah. So I'll tell you the story. Actually, you just said your pregnancy story. It weren't quite. Who the fucking hell have you been cheating on with? But I was actually, I was in Tenerife. It might sound a bit, but this is genuinely 100% the truth as well. I was in Tenerife, and it might sound a bit fucking strange and weird. And I'm not Derek Acora or anything, but we was in this
Derek
dead now, isn't he?
Is he dead? Is he?
Yeah.
Blimey, I didn't know that.
I'm not laughing. I'm not laughing that. No, I'm not laughing that Derek Acora is dead. But I'm just laughing at this story, man. So yeah, we was in this Irish bar in Tenerife, and God's honest truth, John, something told me that my missus were pregnant. Something told me that she was pregnant. It was really strange. And I'd had one too many Captain Morgans.
Oh, I love a Captain Morgans.
Yeah, so I went up. Well, I say went up to it. It was only me and her on holiday. So I had one. I thought, how can I tell her this? I don't know how can I tell her this. But by this point, I was fucking pie-eyed. And I went up to her and I said, I need to tell you something. She was like, what? I said, you're pregnant. And she just looked at me. She was like, you're fucking battered. I said, no. Honestly, you're pregnant. Anyway, the next week we went home. I woke up the next morning, fucking rougher than a bear's ass. And she looked at me. She was like, do you remember what you were saying to me last night? I said, yeah. She went, what was you saying then? I said, you're pregnant. And she was like, how the fuck do you know this? I said, I'm telling you.
I'm Derek Acora.
It's like, fucking, what was the other guy? It's all because of the magic. Shazam. Who was he? Oh, I forgot his name. But anyway, so I did my little Derek Acora piece. And then we was like, I'll have a test when I got home then.
Yeah.
Came home, had a test. And then, pregnant. So I've got a little girl on the way. The story does run a lot deeper than that, but we'll be here all night. But yeah, it was like something weird. Something told me that she was pregnant. But like I said, the point I'll get into is like waking up and thinking, what's the point? What am I doing? All I was doing, the same routine every day. And, both was the same routine. I'd wake up, I'd have porridge, I'd have a coffee, I'd go to work, come home, have a coffee, go to the gym, come home, make something to eat, go to bed, wake up, have a porridge, have a coffee. And it was just, I felt like a fucking robot. And then I do believe everything does happen for a reason. And sometimes I don't know, I'm going to sound so fucking hippy-dippy when I'm saying this. But
no, I know what you're going to say, yeah.
I genuinely do think that, like, you're given these gifts sometimes, and I don't know. I've said to my missus that I genuinely do feel like I'm going to be a better person for being a father. And so many people have said to me, they're like, Byron, you're going to be such a good dad. But yeah, so I'm honestly, I'm chuffed to bits. And
you'll love it, mate. Obviously, you'll have tough times. Obviously, but don't listen to the negative people. Like some people before, I was going, "Oh, here we go."
Your life's over and all this shit. It's like fuck off.
Hell.
You're bringing life into the world.
That really used to piss me off, right, big time. And this is one thing I'll say to anyone who's becoming a new dad, right? It is hard at times because you've got to adapt, because like I said, we used to be going out with our mates, and then you kind of have to ask, like, between you, sort out who's going out which night or whatever. or this or that. And it's like I said, going down to barbers, you have to think about who's going to look after him or her. So stuff like that's hard to adapt to, right? And then the sleepless nights at the start. But you just learn, mate. We are all made to have kids. Obviously, if you don't want to have kids, don't have them. But what I mean is, it's in us. And after a little while, a couple of months, you just pick it up as you go. And it's like, you wouldn't change it for the world. You wouldn't. And don't listen to all the negative bullshit. Because obviously, you're going to get your shit times. You're going to get times where he keeps you up or she keeps you up all night. And then you wake up in the morning and you just look at her and you'll just laugh.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because that's the effect they have on you. So don't listen to all the negative bollocks, mate. But
and I think when people do, sorry to cut you off, but when people do say like, they say, "Oh, it's your end of your life," I don't think it's. Well, I know that I'm never going to feel like that with my daughter because I am quite a loving. You'll know yourself. I might not come across it on some of these podcasts, or whatever, but I am quite a loving person. I'm caring. Do you know what I mean? So when people say, "Oh, your life's over," I don't think it's that your life's over. I think that chunk of your life is over,
and then
you're starting another life now with another life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this is the thing. You're going on to a new chapter in your life, and Sunny Beach for us was a different chapter.
Yeah.
And like I said, at that point in our life, that was everything, and that's everything we wanted and everything we needed, right? But now, both of us, we miss the memories sometimes, but it wouldn't suit us going back now. That's not what we need.
That's what I'm saying. You move on.
What we're having now is good stuff. Do you know what I mean? It was just that was good stuff in a different time. Now we're in another time with different good stuff. Do you know what I mean? It's like my dad said to me once. I remember reading that a guy saying that you play different parts in life without meaning to. It's like almost like you're an actor because you're playing different chapters.
Yeah,
and it's kind of true. Like this is a new chapter for you, and it's the same. I'm still in that new chapter because he's 11 months old. So you're starting a new life in that sense, but you'll still be able to go out and do things. It's just,
of course.
Obviously, you've got to think a bit more, haven't you? So, but no, mate, I can't stand all the negative bollocks, mate.
Fuck it, I can't be asked. I don't listen to them.
Yeah.
We'll wrap it up, but before we do wrap it up, what would be the main advice you'd give to somebody who was in a similar situation to you? Would you recommend? Recommend the tablets and the therapy, or just?
What I'd recommend is which is something I do now if I get any kind of issue or problem. I kind of try and nip it in the bud as soon as I can. And what I mean by nip it in the bud is it doesn't mean the problem's going to be over. It just means I'll speak to someone close, and I'll go, look, I'm worried about this, or I need to sort this. And I think talking to people, anyone, right? Yeah. Close mates, open up. If you don't feel like you can do it with your parents, just open up to someone. It takes the weight off your shoulders. And when you're in like kind of a depressed state of mind, you think one way, but someone will give you another option, and you'll go, oh yeah, like that makes sense. So I think speaking to people, I think the best thing you can do is go and see a therapist. Don't be ashamed. I was going regularly, say 3 years ago for a year. So 2 years ago it finished, and then I've been like a couple of times since when I felt like I've just needed it like a bit, but. All in all, I think if you're having bad times, just go and see a therapist. And like, if you need help and you can't afford that, go and speak to people, mates, anyone.
Yeah.
Surround yourself
with your friends.
Support system. That's the word. So I know now if I built, that's the one thing I did. I built up a support network. So I knew I could speak to my parents. I knew I could speak to my brother. I knew I could speak to my mate Jack, my mate Ed, my mate. There's loads of lads in our group chat, so I don't want to roll out all the names. I knew I could speak to any of them and they'd talk to me. So I kind of built up, they knew that if I felt bad, I could talk to them, they'd let me talk to them. And I think kind of build up a support network. And if you are feeling that bad and suicidal or that, do get on the tablets, because it doesn't mean you're on them forever. It doesn't mean it's going to heal you. Do it alongside the therapy and just go with it, and just know that I was in a position that was so fucking bad. So I didn't think I could get out at all. And you obviously saw me like that. My mates saw me like that, how bad I felt it was. And I've come out of that. And I'm not saying I've healed, I'm this, I'm that. Obviously, I'm just saying you can get out of that and start learning to live again and go back to your normal ways, which is like just who you are, whatever that is. So, and obviously you're still going to get your times, but you can always get out. So I know a few people that have now. So just speak, see a therapist, use the tablets if you need to, always open up. That's one thing I will say. And I'd like to say a big, big thank you to my mates, my family, and anyone else who helped me over that time, because they was brilliant. And they I don't even have to name them, because they know who they are. And there was quite a few of the lads and my family and stuff like that. You, Watsy, there was a lot of good people. So I thank all of you. I'm always there for people. I know you'd always be there for people. I just think it's a case of we're all in this together. Just got to try and get through and just enjoy your life to the best of your ability, isn't you? So one of them, mate. So
thanks.
But it's been nice being on. And I just want to say, the next one we do will be a bit more like uplifting. This is obviously it's Mental Health Week, so we're going to talk about obviously Sunny Beach. We're going to have a bit of a laugh with other stuff, so it will be a bit more uplifting. So.
North versus South. I think
South.
But yeah, cheers for coming on, mate. It takes a lot of courage to speak about what you have just spoke about, and hopefully, whether it's a man or woman, whatever else they want to identify as, if that can, if they watch that, if they're going through a bad time, then I think they can, if they can relate to your story, then I really, really do think it can help a lot. Even
if it just helps one person, isn't it?
Exactly. One's better than none, isn't it?
So it's not. I wouldn't call it a guide. You just find your way. Everyone's different, but it's just
that's another thing I wanted to say earlier on. Everybody literally is different.
Yeah.
So one thing what works for one person, like me, for me, like I said before, I didn't want to take tablets, so I was just miserable around one of my mates, and then he got me round. He was like, "You are coming to the pub. You are coming for a pint." Do you know what I mean? He dragged me out, and then I start doing other things, and then slowly back to normal. Well,
that's it. Yeah.
Not normal. You still like you said earlier. You do still have bad days. Still have bad days now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You might think another thing as well. Actually, just before we do finish,
I thought I got rid of you then.
what I've noticed through life is things that you look forward to, or you save up for, or you want this amount of money in your bank. When you get it, sometimes at least this happens to me. I might just be the only weirdo this happens to, but you aim for something sometimes, and then when you eventually get it, I find anyway that all right, I've got it now. Now what? Then I'll crash.
Yeah.
You ever had that happen?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I think sometimes, obviously not all the time, sometimes you work towards things and then it ain't as good as what you thought it'd be.
Yeah,
sometimes
exactly.
you just, I think the big thing is, last week I said, I think a lot of people, and I've done it in the past, I still do it at times, you kind of look for other moments and look forward to the future, when really some of the times you're having now are really good, and just be at peace with yourself when you're having a cup of tea and watching a film or something, and you're not worried about anything. Or
that's it.
Some of the times you go down the pub with the lads or the girls or whoever, and you just have a really good night and it's off the cuff. So I think it's just enjoying the moment as much as you can. So
that's it.
And like I said, thank you to you, mate. And
no, thanks for you.
Nice seeing you. So.
Fucking, like I said, it took a lot of courage coming on the pod and telling your story, and I think it will inspire quite a few people. But if you did like this podcast, then hit the subscribe button below, hit a thumbs up, leave a comment if you have been going through any hardship, and drop a comment below. And George, you are on YouTube, so you can actually respond to the comments that are on the thing on the post. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, there is a video version of this, so you can see gorgeous George for yourself over on YouTube. youtube.com/Byron's World. So if you want to go check that out. If you are watching on video, then sorry you had to see our mugs. But yeah, until the next podcast, we will get George back on.
I'll look forward to it, mate. I'm looking forward to a more of a cheery one. Obviously, this is just a get out a story. I haven't spoke for a few years about it, but the next ones will be more like what we usually are. So I mean, have a good laugh together. So
that's it, mate.
Be nice, mate.
Right.
Cheers, mate.
Yeah, cheers. Right. Lovely speaking to you, mate.
And you, mate. I'll see you later then, yeah?
See you later, mate. If you are struggling with your mental health, you might be too proud to speak to your friends or family, I've left 2 numbers here, one for Samaritans and one for Mind UK, who do great work here in the UK when it does come to mental health.